Big Real Estate Show. We're going to talk about the mindset of a leader. Your organization will rise or it will fall based on your leadership. And you can either grow a big organization, you can grow a small organization, or you can grow no organization. Regardless, leadership matters, and it matters a lot. Today's episode, I have a very special guest who scaled a real estate team that spans 12 countries, all 50 states, almost 2,700 real estate agents. He was also a former poker player. We're going to get into some details of how he's done that, the lessons that we can extract to help you to build whatever it is that you want to build, whether it's big, whether it's small, whether it's just you. Leadership matters. And today we're going to go deep on that. Stay with us, folks. It's going to be a great episode. So the big question is this: how do those of us in the real estate industry with crazy amounts of ambition, how do we think bigger than the building of our own empires? How do we simultaneously seek success and significance, income and impact? My name is Justin Stoddard, and this is the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. All right, welcome back to the show, folks. Really excited to be with you. Just so everybody knows, tomorrow at 2:30 Pacific time, I'm making a major announcement. Could be the biggest announcement of my career. So if you're interested in hearing that, you will hear this on the podcast after the fact. But something has been brewing in the background that's bigger than anything I fathomed I'd be a part of, which is pretty exciting. So I just want to throw that out there. Back to today's show. I'm excited to have with me. His name is Connor Steinbrook. Connor, thanks for coming on the show today, my friend.
Yeah, man. I like the intro, and glad to hear you got some big news coming. But
Yeah.
You don't want to spill it right now? I'm just kidding. But thank you for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to it, and let's help these viewers learn about leadership and how to build something big.
I love it, man. You've done that, right? As I mentioned, as we were getting started, 12 countries, 2,700 real estate agents, all 50 states, and you're the leader. And you call your organization the Wolfpack. Talk to us about, first and foremost, the name Wolfpack.
Yeah. So ESP is a global business model. We have the ability to build our organizations in multi-states and multiple countries. And I grew up in Plano West, and in sports, I was Plano West Wolf. So if you look at it on the internet, our high school is a Wolfpack, and we always had the mentality that's let's win this together. Let's run as a pack, run as a family, and not do this as a lone wolf me. Let's all get in agreements and a coordination and a synergistic kind of working environment. But in business, in the real estate space, it's traditionally a lone wolf business when you really think about it. Even though we operate through brokerages and offices, really we are a lot of independent entrepreneurs kind of doing our own thing. So when we realized we're going to build this global system, we wanted to create a family mentality to it and create a Wolfpack system where we're all going to win together and run together and do it as a pack, not as a lone wolf. That's kind of the mentality behind it. And so I came up from sports, and I had that background, but also then when we got into team building, most of my real estate background was in the investment space before, which was an individual kind of solopreneur thing. But then when we got into team building, it was kind of a collective group. And I didn't want to build a brand that was, the Connor Steinbrook team, sponsored by the Connor Steinbrook team. I wanted to build a collective brand that all leaders could come into and feel that they could feel comfortable building and build a movement. And that's kind of what we did. And I think a lot of people, it's good leadership kind of message right here, that if you're going to build something specifically about you, your name or something like that, that's not going to be conducive to build big long-term. Not in this world where we have to ask ourselves, are we a leader? When we have this question, do we make decisions for ourselves over our team? Is it team before me, or is it me before team? And if you want your team to just glorify you and make it all about you and your name, you're not going to lead anything very big or for very long. So what I do is I like to create brands like Investor Army or Wolfpack, something that has a collective feel to it, that everybody can get behind that feel and build their own brand within that brand. Is kind of how that all came about.
Isn't it interesting? When you hear Wolfpack, it sounds intimidating. It sounds like a bunch of ferocious, right? Yep. Kind of like killers. And what I hear you saying is it's given me a different feel, that this isn't just aggressive, like we're gonna destroy everything in our sight, right? It's more about family and team and building something that's collective and cohesive and collaborative. And I like that. I like that a lot. I feel like people that are in the Wolfpack, I'm sure, feel very not alone, right? Not like a lone wolf. And I love that metaphor, is especially when you're in a business that can be very lonely, right? Those of us that have been in the real estate industry realize, like, it's lonely out here, and to be around people who have the same goal and the same mission and are willing to go get it together. That's awesome. So I think the first lesson I want everyone to know is, like, your branding matters, right? The way that you're positioning yourself. If it's just Justin Stoddard Homes, right? You're maybe setting yourself up to be the only guy that's selling the homes.
In a sense, like you can have those brands worked a lot better before social media. And this is just my opinion. You saw that in the traditional old days of team building and stuff, where it was just like, it was a big deal to have your name up there, the big billboard in the town to drive mom and dad by. But now we're in the world of personal individualization, right? And everybody has a personal brand. Everybody's got their own unique following. People want to be their own freelance entrepreneur. They don't want a broker. They don't want a boss. They want their own freedom. They want their own honor and respect for their own family. And to tell people to get behind one person in this world where we're all fighting for attention is a very difficult thing to do. So it's not that it can't be done. I just think that you would have a better option to, if you're trying to grow something massive, like globally or a really big business, you need to think about start to finish, top down to bottom. If you have 100 people, you're going to have a range of anything, saints to devils, positive to negative, wealthy to poor, young to old. You're going to have a huge range of people, and you need to be aware that you need to have something that doesn't make people feel outside the circle. You can't create inner circles and outer circles. So it needs to have some type of collective brand that everybody out there of the masses can feel a part of. Otherwise, you're running out parts of your market share long term if people don't feel that they can plug into something and be a part of it.
It's interesting when you consider anybody that's built something great. It's always been about team, right? It's always been about there's always, and even the greatest stars in the world, you look at like Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Tom Brady, without their teams, they're nothing, right? Without Scottie Pippen, you wouldn't have Michael Jordan, right? Without some of the supporting cast that these other superstars in sports and other things have had, you wouldn't have this legacy. And so I think what you're saying here is that if you want to build something big, it can't be just you. You have to empower other people to be able to own it as well, to be able to say, I'm a part of this. And it's only from that, the collective value of everybody involved is the only way to really build something that transcends. Is that safe to say? Anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, I mean, like if you have to have people follow you to be a leader, and people are going to follow anybody that's not convicted and that's not going the direction that they see their future going to get better behind. So the main thing with sales or leadership or anything is that we live in the present, past, and the future, and we're acting in the present, but we're selling the future. And we do this by pointing out things that we've come across in our past or experiences in the past. And so when you're trying to recruit agents or have people follow you with time or energy or dollars or risk or anything, your main job is to paint the picture in an honest belief system for them, not just like, hey, this is like, well, let drop the ball. Like, and I'm just saying this, but like when they believe that their future is better, if they listen to the things that you're saying and that they're going to, if they do what we're talking about today and apply it, that they're going to show up at a better future tomorrow, then they're going to follow you. That's called leadership. But once they lose that belief that if they follow you or do the actions or take the risks and the things that you're saying, that their future is not going to be better, they're going to stop following you. So all we're trying to do is create a collective approach that if you follow this movement, you follow this conviction, you follow the system, that the future is going to be better for you. You're going to either have a better monetary situation, you're going to have better time management, you're going to have better emotion management. Somehow in the future, things are going to get better if we go this direction. And I'm confident with my leadership skills that I know the right direction where I'm going. As like, for example, like when the pandemic happened and all this craziness happened, everybody's melting down. We need leaders with conviction to step in and say, this is the direction we're going. This is the direction that's going to fix all of this. And I'm confident that this is how we're going to get out of this. And I'm moving this direction. You come with me or not. And people move with that confidence. They move with that conviction. But if you waffle and you don't know the answer and you're like, well, we'll figure it out, you're going to have a hard time keeping people respecting you, because we don't want loyalty. We want respect. There's a big difference. There's a huge difference between dictatorships and leaderships. And one is where people are doing things out of fear and out of feeling like they're forced to do it and they're not trying to upset everybody else. And one is they're doing it because they know it's right and they respect you and they're following you out of respect, not out of fear. So you want to be a leader, not a dictator. So I said kind of a lot of stuff there, but hopefully that helped a little bit, kind of give an idea.
Let's dip into your past a little bit. Sounds like you played sports at a competitive level. I'm sure that's carried over. What sports did you play, by the way?
Probably which ones did I not play? I mean, I was like one of the crazy kids that ruined my parents' lives. Meaning they were driving me to practices and games all the time. I played soccer, baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse. I love to bass fish. I'm from Texas. It's one of my weird hobbies. Actually going to be fishing in the professional Bassmaster Opens next year. So that's my one little hobby. But competition is crucial to win at a high level. So one thing that like sports does good for entrepreneurship is it teaches you winning and losing at a young age, and it teaches you how to handle that, and it also teaches you the ability to have progressive abilities or progressive skill sets. Meaning, if I suck at hitting a baseball today or a golf ball today, if I do it over and over through repetition and then face through the emotional headache of doing this and the stress of not getting better faster, over time I will get better, and my confidence will grow, my self-esteem will grow with my skill sets, and then I'll become a better golfer. And you see a lot of times people that came from athletic backgrounds where they learn these lessons that they can, through repetition and practice and effort, improve them skill sets. And I think where we get into the world now, a lot of leaders and entrepreneurs and people that could be successful talk themselves out of their future because they get into this like mindset that like, I can't do this, or I don't know if I can do this type of mentality. And they self-sabotage because they're looking at themselves as a snapshot of who they are today, but not who they could be tomorrow. So if you're saying I can't do this, what you're saying is the person that I have right now, the value that I have for the marketplace, the skill sets that I bring forward are not able to do this, but you're neglecting the fact that you can become more valuable. And so leaders help their agents or employees or their business or their team members understand that they can become more and that they can be more and that they can push them down the path of personal education or personal development, and help them work on improving themselves physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, in all the different areas. And it's once people realize that that person over there did it, that person over there did it, I'm the same as that person. I was born in this world just like them. I have a heart and goals and blood pumping through my body. And once they believe that they can become someone more than they are currently, that's when success happens. But if they don't believe that they can become more than they are right now, their belief system is I can't do it right now. So therefore, what's the point of trying? The risk is too high to pay, and they never attempt to start a business or grow anything. But yeah, it's important stuff.
There's a quote by Dan Kennedy that says the only way to make your present better is to make your future bigger, which very much ties in. I think what you're talking about is that if people actually don't believe that they can improve, if they actually don't believe that their future with you is going to be better and improved, then they lose hope now and they're unwilling to do the activities. I think at the core of high producing people are people who are willing to get in and do the work regardless of whether they feel like it or not. And you only are willing to do that if you believe that those activities are going to turn into something in the future. And so I love what you're saying here about having that foresight to be able to actually believe that your future is going to be bigger and better, which again inspires us to have a better today and to do the work today to get to the tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we have, so like one of the big things about leadership is you're not just leading people, you're leading their mindset. So you're always going to have fear versus faith. So fear is on one side of the polarity spectrum and faith is on the other. Neither are real. They're both held in the mind that we think about in the present. So fear is the worst outcomes that could possibly happen if I take this action, and faith is the best outcome. If I spend the money on marketing, I'm going to have deals come back and I'm going to make more money. But fear is if I spend this money on marketing and no dollars come back, I'm going to go out of business. And so fear and faith relate to each other with risk in the middle. If the faith is high enough that the positive outcome is going to be there, if I take a risk with time, money, or emotion, you're going to push past it. But if the fear is high enough that you think if you take that risk of time, money, or emotion, you're not going to take action. And the way you get past fear is to put data in front of people. So what causes fear is a lack of control, a lack of knowledge, a lack of information. So let's say I'm on like a cliff looking over to jump off, and it looks like it's a fun spot to do a double backflip, but I don't know what's underneath the water. The lack of information creates the fear. So I'm looking down there. It could be 1 inch below the water is the ground. There could be sharks and monsters and rocks all down there. So I'm not going to jump. But then information comes into the picture. This is what leaders do. We provide the information that takes away the fear. So let's say I come in and I'm like, actually, this place has been one of the most notorious jump off spots for the history of mankind. People have been jumping off here for 1,000 years. In fact, 1 million kids jump off here a year. There's 100 foot of clean water and sand. And then a bunch of people start jumping off around. They see it with their own eyes. As all this information comes in, the fear goes away because what they were fearful of was an illusion in their mind they created. And so another way of doing it is like, let's say there's a girl that you like or a guy that you like, and you're fearful to ask them out. The risk's too high because what if you ask them out and they don't like you? But what if one of their friends slipped up and said, my friend actually thinks you're kind of cute. Now, when you go ask them out, what are you doing? You're going with the information, the knowledge. The fear is gone because you now know they like you. So it's a little bit more likely that the faithful situation is going to come out that, hey, they're going to say yes. So we're always trying to paint the picture of faith and hope and honor and respect and the good things inside of our agents' minds or partners' minds, and plant the roses and pull the weeds out of the garden, meaning the fearful thoughts, the thoughts that put people down in negative emotional traps, that destroy self-esteem, that take away belief in themselves, and which drives their energy and things like that. But it's a lot of leadership is coming down to motivation, because you can, let's say my business, you can increase sales, or you can add more agents, or you can lose fewer agents. These are all different ways to increase the business. But what if through the right words and the right motivation strategies, you increase the work ethic of the business, hours in the business? So let's say you had 100 agents that put 1 hour a week, and you have 100 hours of output in the business. Most people, if you say, how do you double that business? They think instantly double the agent count. How do I get to 200 agents that put an hour into to get to 200 hours? Whereas leaders think not just attraction of talent, but creation of talent. How do I take these 100 people that are working an hour, instead of going the harder route to get them to bring another 100 in that work an hour? How do I just get these 100 to be motivated to work 2 hours? That's a much faster way to double the output. How do I motivate them to work 3 hours? This is why some people coach high school football. Some people get paid millions of dollars to coach the NFL. They get more output at the same team. So what makes a great leader is you give that same leader the same ball, or the same team, or the same organization, and one's going to drive it faster, bigger than someone else. And that's where leadership comes in. How do you make the momentum? How do you make the motivation? How do you make the mass consciousness of what you're growing all move together faster, as compared to breaking it down, fragmenting it down, and having issues and cracks in the foundation? I said a lot right there, but hopefully that
Such a
helps.
wealth of information about leadership. I mean, I think all of us that are listening to you realize what a compelling leader you are, and how you really demystify why many people don't have success, right? And when you can be around a pack of leaders that can help people to see the more clear vision moving forward, you can see why people are following you. One thing that's really interesting about your background, Connor, is you were a professional poker player from 2003 to 2008. How did that begin? Super interesting.
That was probably not as interesting story as to how it began. It was an interesting career, but it was just an accident, to be honest. I went off to college in 2003. So I live here in Dallas, and I went to the University of Oklahoma. So I'm a boomer Sooner. So for you watching this out there, that you're a Sooner. And I made my parents really proud, I tell them. So I have a very conservative family. My dad's actually a Presbyterian minister. And I went off to college to get a business marketing degree. Instead, I majored in online poker, is what I tell people. And so what happened was it made my parents really proud. But I put $20 into a poker site. So basically what happened was, around this time, there was a big online poker boom. A man named Chris Moneymaker was an accountant out of Tennessee, I think he was. And so online poker started. And you guys have probably watched on television those big poker tournaments, the World Series Poker main event. They're playing for millions of dollars. Well, he had played a small, like $40 tournament, and to win what's called a satellite seat. So sometimes you play tournaments for actual dollar prizes, but sometimes you play to win a bigger seat into a bigger tournament that has bigger cash prizes, and it's called a satellite tournament. He satellited in, from what I remember from the internet, to the big main event tournament, and then he won the big main event. So look up Chris Moneymaker, and it created this explosion in the college system, because every college kid in America said, I've got $40. My mom gave me $40. I want to turn it into millions of dollars. And it created this huge boom. And so I just started playing for pennies, and then dollars, and tens of dollars, and thousands, and then tens of thousands. And it just kept working up. And I became one of the top online poker players in the world. And I did that for about 8 years, until I found out the world can be pretty savage. Because if you look at what happened on April 15, 2011, the websites got shut down. The poker sites got shut down overnight. And the United States Department of Justice seized the poker industry essentially overnight without warning. And I woke up the next day without a way to create an income, and without my identity. All my friends' identities were gone. Literally overnight, we lost everything. And that's kind of, if you guys watch my YouTube channel, go on my story, kind of how all that happened. But it was kind of an accident. My hobby just became my profession, is really what happened. And yeah.
What are some of the biggest lessons that you take from that have benefited you in being a strategic leader of an organization, one who can grow and scale an organization?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, poker is great for many reasons, and life lessons that you'll learn. For one, I became a real estate investor. I think that's also why I also was a poker player, because when you really think about it, poker's lifetime investing. Instead of like buying a stock or buying something, every single time you put money in a pot, that's an investment. You're literally making multiple investments lifetime throughout a hand. You're taking information available at the moment, and you're putting your money where your mouth is, saying, I'm investing this much on a call, bet, or bluff, or whatever it is. So it really helped me understand uh, stack management, meaning bankroll management, how much money I have, because if you don't manage your bankroll, you go bankrupt. That's the next lesson. I learned how to lose everything and get back up. And I would not have, when I had all that big fall, probably don't have time to go on this podcast, where I had my big fall and comeback. It was all the times that I had went from 0 to 10,000, bust my bankroll, went to 0 and built it back up. And how many times I went broke, that let me realize that you can go broke and start over. So it gives you the confidence to not have the fear of what if you do go broke. So it makes you take bigger chances and risks. Learned a lot about human psychology, how people handle risk, how people handle bad breaks, how to exploit people that just had bad breaks. And that's not saying to be in a nasty way, but just if you guys play poker and sports and anything, why do people trash talk? They're trying to do what's called put people on tilt or an emotional shift, get them off their A game. And I learned how people can play faster if they're losing and all sorts of different things, and how people's emotions really can cause them to compound mistakes. Also, how it lets them drop their awareness of their body language, meaning how people's mindset when it's winning or losing can try and change the posture in their body and giving you verbal tells. And so when you're in communication and sales, when you're talking to people, you know where their eyes are looking, how they're sitting, what their posture is, their tonality, the way that their lips are curling, are they drinking water, vice versa, how engaged they are in the conversation. So I learned a lot about people and people, how they move and why they do things that they do, which helped me a lot to know how to help people later when I'm leading them. Because if I'm wrong on the poker table, I'm bankrupt, meaning I'm losing my money. So you literally have to be right. You're literally putting your money behind what you believe is happening. You're not just saying, I think this person's telling the truth. I think this person's sincere. I think they're lying. You're actually saying, I think they are, but I'm putting my money behind it. If that kind of makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I had to pull up the quote as you were talking from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, the credit belongs to those who are actually in the arena, who strive valiantly, who know the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spend themselves in a worthy cause, who at best know the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if they fail while daring greatly, so that their place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Again, that was Theodore Roosevelt. I'm reminded of that because you've just walked us through why so many people sit timidly on the sideline for fear of failure. And what
That's right.
you just helped to demystify, which is when you realize that failure isn't final, when you realize that you can fail and it's okay, you can try again. I think you've helped us to unlock again why many don't try and never therefore realize their own true potential because they're so afraid of failure. I don't know if there's anything you want to expound upon that, but you just taught me that.
Yeah, I mean, so he said, I was Teddy Roosevelt. That guy sounds pretty smart. Like he should have led something. I'm just kidding, right? I know who Teddy Roosevelt is, but that's a good quote. Now, here's the thing: like when it comes to fear of failure, you're right on that. It is and this is also why people quit. It's not just that they don't start; it's that they quit once they start. Because when people start something, what is always happening? Excitement is the highest, skill sets are the lowest, but they're running on excitement and energy off of I'm changing my life, something new starting. And then they get in and they're running sheer on adrenaline emotion. And all of a sudden life kicks back. And now they realize they don't have any skill sets and adversity kicks in. And they're in the acquisition of skill sets. They're trying to learn what they're doing. They're trying to learn the new systems. And all of a sudden they start looking at their bank account. I'm putting risk up with money. It's going backwards. They start looking at their time. I have a little bit less time because it's going in the business, not to my friends and family. They start looking at their emotions. It's not feeling very good. They were excited. And now they're stressed because the excitement was about, if I do this new thing and I pull this off, look at how exciting this new life's going to be when I pull it off. And then they realize I actually have to pull it off and get into this nastiness, right? So then the reality of the situation kicks in. And then if they quit or not comes down to, is the price too high to pay? Whether it is or not, it only matters if it's in their mind, if it's a price too high to play, because there's reality and there's perception of reality. So perception of reality destroys dreams, goals, and everything. Reality doesn't. So for example, like people don't want to learn social media or YouTube because the monster they create in their mind, it's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take this, or I can't do it. The reality is it's not that difficult if you put the time in. So it's the belief of the future monster or dragon they're painting in their mind. Oh, what a fix I'm going to be if I keep going this direction and I don't pull it off. How much money and time and emotion I'm putting into this if I don't pull it off. How deeper I'm going to be deeper down into this. May as well just pull the cord now while I'm only hurt a little bit instead of getting hurt a lot. What winners and champions do is they push through it and they just say, I know it's going to suck for a long time, but if I suck it through and push it through, eventually it's going to come out to the backside and I will be successful. And so one of the things that I had to do when I had that fear start and fear of taking on, big opportunities was, if you're scared to fail, and I mean this in a genuine, sincere way, guys, if you, let's say you've not been successful yet, you're already failing. You're already failing. Like you can't, you're scared to fail. You should be scared of what if you don't try, because if you pull it off and you have that great life, you're going to really have a great life. But if you never try, you're going to live it the rest of your life in regret. I know I should have started that restaurant. I know I should have started that startup. I know I could have pulled it off. So don't be fearful if you try something and fail. You know how many people have done that? Almost every millionaire that's a millionaire, they failed the first few businesses. I failed in I was broke for years when I started my businesses. You guys watch my story. So if you're scared of failure, you're already failing. So be scared of your situation right now. Be scared of what if you don't give it your all? What if you don't swing for the fences on this one life that you live? Because if you don't swing for it, you'll regret it. And I bet you, as you move through your life, regret becomes much more powerful than failure. So failure is not a problem, guys. Failure is a stepping point to whatever you're succeeding at. Unless you think that you're just 100% perfect at anything you're going to try and that you're just perfect at it before you try, and you're the only human that's ever done that, you will fail. Failure is a stepping point, guys. It's not something to fear. It's something to embrace. You don't go to the gym to hide from the weight bench. You go to the gym to find the weight bench so you can lift it as many times as you can until you can't lift that weight again. And that breaking down after you can't lift is the resistance that you're pushing against that breaks you down so you can replace yourself with a stronger body after it. So we're trying to find the problems. We're trying to find the failures so we can grow, not avoid it. So that'd be my little message or rant for you guys. Failure is not a problem. It's what you're seeking. That's because success is right on the backside of that. But you will never have what you want if you're too scared to start, period.
I think if what you've just reminded me of and opened me up to consider is that winning the wrong game can still be losing, right? I mean, if it's not actually big enough to get you what you want in life, if it's not actually consistent with your own potential, but you do it because it's safe and you know you can win there, that may be the biggest loss of all, right? Like, right. Okay, I won, but did you really win? Like, sometimes, again, we're playing the wrong game, and winning is actually losing because we're not playing the right game. And the game is big enough.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this like last week on something different in a weird way. I was trying to explain to someone the reason why you're not having more results and going bigger in life is because you're asking yourself the wrong questions. And like they were asking them something like they were trying to figure out how to make, they owed money or something. I forget what they were trying to get $10,000 because to them, if they had $10,000, it'd fix a lot of their problems right now. But you only have so many thoughts throughout the day. And if your thoughts are how to get $10,000 and everything's going, well, how do I get to this $10,000 or how do I make six figures next year? If you guys, your goals are right now saying, I did this for years in the beginning of my businesses. This is why you hear us think big, have bigger goals. And then we're not kidding this because your brain, this is why though, because your brain is going to fit the goal that you're chasing. So if your goal is to make 100,000, you're going to figure out how to make 100,000. Your goals should be asking yourself, if you want to make $1 million, how do I make $1 million? You should be asking yourself every day, how do I make millions of dollars? How do I make millions of dollars? Not how do I make the 10,000? Because if you do that, your brain's going to figure out how to make 10,000 and you're going to pay off the $10,000 debt, but you may spend a year doing it or 6 months. So your mind's going to figure out whatever you're trying to seek out with it. And it's uniquely designed to answer the questions you ask it. So if you want to be a millionaire, ask this question yourself. How do I make $1 million every single day as many times as you can? And I promise you, you're going to be way more likely to become a millionaire than if you're asking yourself how to make $100,000 because your brain is going to move towards whatever you're putting it to think about, just like Google. If I go to Google and I type in how to make $10 versus how do I make $1 million, am I going to get a different answer? Now, Google is modeled after our mind. So if I want cats, I don't go to YouTube and the search bar in the Google and type in unicorns, hippos, and gorillas and all sorts of other animals because that's what's going to come up. So whatever you ask yourself and whatever you think on is where you're going to show up in the future. So you need to start asking yourself bigger questions. How do I make $100 million if that's your goal? Whatever you really want, but it can't just be a want, it has to be a need because you're not going to get there unless you need it. So you can't just have a goal that's just like, I want to make $1 million. It's, I need to do this and here's the reason why and here's the date that I'm going to do it by. And you have to follow that up with some type of goal outside yourself to help others, help your community, help, because usually just monetary goals, I want a Lamborghini and money, doesn't get you there. And if you do get there, you don't stay there. So I'd say ask yourself bigger questions, not just set bigger goals, because goals come behind those questions. But I'm hoping I'm making sense to everybody. Like, you don't just want to say like, this year I want to make $100,000 and next year I'll make 150. Why not this year make $1 million? Because you're not going to make $1 million this year, but working towards that process through that year, you're now changing the direction of the decisions you're making, that you can make $1 million year 3 or 4 or 5. And in business and life, years fly by immediately. I promise you, in 3 years from now, if you're making $1 million, you're gonna be like, I'm glad I did that. But if your goal is to make 100,000, you'll show up in 3 years at best making 100,000, because our mind fills the gap of what we're chasing.
What a great metaphor. The Google search, right? You're going to find what you're searching for. And the reality is we're all searching for something, and it's called the expectations and standards that we've set out for ourselves, right? If my minimum bar is $1 million a year, but we never put that in our mind, right? Then we're never going to get that. We actually have to put that this is what I'm searching for, so that those results can come up. That's amazing. I love that metaphor, Connor. Such wisdom.
Yeah, it takes 2 things to become massively successful. It takes the person driving the vehicle and the vehicle that's driving to get there, meaning the person selling the product, service, or opportunity, and then are you selling insurance, real estate, widgets, wadgets, or whatever it is. But you have to understand that if you want to make $1 million a year, the vehicle that you choose has to give you the ability to make $1 million a year. So I hear it all the time. Like, people are like, I want to make more money. Well, how much money do you want to make? I don't know. I just want to make more. How much do you want to make? $1 million. Are you sure? That's how much you want to make? Do you want to make 2 million, 1.1 million? So they're really not clear on what they want. But then you see them doing something. Let's say like the industry that they're in, maybe 1 out of 5,000 people makes $1 million a year, as compared to there's all these other industries that maybe 10% have the potential to get there, or whatever it is. Like, you have the upside. You need to look at what you're driving as far as, are you building a business that has the upside, that if you make the sacrifice over the coming years, that the vehicle gets you to the outcome that you want. Because some of you guys can't even actually hit the financial goals that you're telling yourself you believe you want at the current vehicle you're driving. Like, if you want to make $1 million a year and you're working a 9-to-5 job, good luck. You need to change the vehicle. If you don't like the clothes you have, your closet's full, how do you replace it? You change it. You throw the old ones out and you replace it with a new one. But you can't replace the new system without throwing the old one out. So the first thing is, to be able to have massive success, you need to be driving the vehicle that gives you the massive success. I think that's one of the biggest problems. So like, I mentioned bass fishing. People always ask how I catch so many big bass. I fish lakes that have giant bass in them. It doesn't matter if I fish a lake with small fish in them. No matter what lure I throw, what strategy I have, how good my equipment is, what type of boat I have. I don't care if I have a $100,000 boat or whatever. Doesn't matter if there's not big fish in the pond. It doesn't matter how good you are at what you're doing if your goal is not able to be accomplished with the vehicle. So think about what you're doing right now. That's also why I chose the XP, because it has a multi-million-dollar upside if you pull it off. So it's very important that you have that upside, because you can't get to it if it's not possible.
I love it. The driver and the car both need to be in check, right? You've given us many lessons on the driver, and the other one is to evaluate the car. And is the best way to evaluate the car is just who else has driven this particular car to where I want to go? Is that the best series of questions to ask?
Yeah, just look at, so like do some market data. So like look at industries, and so like the first thing I did when I want to become wealthy, what did I do? What would you do? Give you a little second to pause here. If you want to become wealthy, what do you do?
Look for
you study aggressively what you want. Yeah. So like what I did was I started studying wealthy people. So I said, who is the wealthiest people I can think of? So I was thinking about Andrew Carnegie, Vanderbilt, JP Morgan Chase, Henry Ford, Rockefeller, all the industrialists. So I started studying billionaires and wealthy people. And then I said, I want a lot of money. Oh, how do I get money? Well, let me start studying what money is. What's the dollar bill? How does it work? What's the Fed? What's the reserve? How do banks work? How do I get people to loan me money? Whatever you want, you study it, because if you don't study it, you don't have the confidence in it to follow it. And so why did we talk about why people quit? Because of fear and unknowns. If you don't know what's coming because you don't have enough knowledge on what you're doing, you're going to naturally and consciously self-sabotage yourself from getting into conversations. So for example, like agents that want to recruit with us at EXP, if you're not going to take the time to fundamentally understand the model, meaning learn what you're selling, the product service, that if you click this button, it turns the seat warmer on your car. If you don't know what you're selling, you can't sell it, because what happens is you don't know what you're selling. So do you want to get into conversations? If you know what you're selling and you're confident in it, you're going to naturally get yourself into conversations because you're confident that any question asked, you're going to have a great answer for. But if you don't know what you're doing in sales, you're going to intentionally, unconsciously self-sabotage yourself and avoid conversations at all costs, even though lifetime consciously you're telling yourself, I need to make money, I need to do deals, but you don't know why conversations are not starting. It's because you don't know the answers that you know they're going to ask you. So your unconscious mind is making sure that you don't have a prospecting effort to get you into conversations. So what you need to understand is you need to know your product in and out. And once you know your product in and out, more than you believe everybody else that's selling that product knows, the amount of contacts and prospecting and everything is going to increase. And it's going to seem like your business just took off overnight, but really it was your competency level that made your self-esteem feel better about what you're selling. So you're naturally dropping the guard. Now you're getting into conversations and your unconscious mind is not blocking your conscious decision-making processes. But I know it's a lot probably for some people to hear, but that's the real gist of what's actually happening behind the scenes.
And I think what you've identified, right, is that confidence, this whole fake it till you make it nonsense, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't, but really where confidence comes from is from achievement. So if you actually want to have real confidence, go learn what it takes to achieve, be around other people who are achievers, and go to work to achieve. And then you can look at that to say, I don't need to fake it. I have confidence. I'm not saying you need to have some world-class accomplishment, but just some sort of achievement will give you confidence to then go out and pursue another real achievement and another real achievement. And as you start to stack those achievements, real confidence, and storms may come and storms may go, but the confidence is real. I've done this before. I know how to do this again. I know how to help other people do this. And I think all too often we spend too much time trying to selfie our way there by propping ourselves up with non-achievements, good marketing, and people can see through that. And more importantly, our subconscious mind can see through that. Our subconscious mind knows if we're actually confident or not. And real confidence comes when we actually have the wherewithal to stand and to do the work that's necessary. So I love what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, what you said there is incredibly important, because in leadership, if you've not gone through every level, meaning you've gone through the hell, passed through and beat that level and got to the next level, everything in life has a hierarchy structure. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, corporal, general, everything has a rise up, and to get to the next level. People want to avoid the pain. They want to avoid the sacrifice. But if you have not gone through the sacrifices, gone through the pain, then when you have something as far as a business or an organization that's following you, how can you support these people and help them through their problems? So part of leadership is going through the fire first, getting burned, and understanding that you survived and how to help others go through the fire behind you. So everybody wants to shortcut and not go through suffering and not having failures and not having setbacks. But unless you've gone through this, unless you paid that price, unless you've gone through that hell and the sacrifice, you don't know how to help people out of their own issues. And if you can't help people when they're out in their meltdown modes, they're going to leave you. They're not going to follow you. But if you can help someone when they're suicidal in the late night calls, and you can help someone that's going through a divorce, or their family, someone just had an affair or something like that, this is what you're going to run into. People talk about leadership like it's all sexy, like you're getting the money, the cars, the stuff behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, this is not social media. You can fake social media. You can't fake business. And business, if you try to fake it, you go bankrupt and you destroy your life. You fake it on the internet, you may get fake views and people think you're more successful, right? In the real world, it comes down to real emotion, real, will they follow you into battle? Because if they won't follow you into battle, business is a war every day. There's risk taking, there's bullets flying. And so it's a lot of behind the scenes of leadership is that people know your story. For one, stories help you because they see where you came. They saw your past. They saw where you were at in your present. They saw where you went in your future, and they can look at your story as a movie, and they can find themselves in their own story and your story, saying it's halftime. And yeah, my life's messed up, but this is why people love a comeback, because they can find their comeback story in your story. But if they know that you're a fake it till you make it and a fraud, and you never really went through this stuff, and they really get into like some real issues and you don't know how to help them, they're going to realize you never did these things. So you have to go through these life experiences. You have to have these failures. So they're toughening you up, strengthening you up, and then also helping you in the future, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. The failures you're feeling right now are going to be the same one other people that you're going to be leading are going to feel in the future. And so as you go through your failures and your problems and your adversities right now, have the awareness to learn to understand what you're doing as you're going through it, how you're getting out of it, so that you can teach this and lead people later. So when people are in problems, you lead them out of them. And it's important to understand this. You can't hide from your problems, guys, and be massively successful. You run to them.
What I hear you saying, I think that is something that really needs to register deep inside of all of us, is that hard times are not bad. Hard times are necessary, right? For your own growth to actually get to the achievements. But also, if you're ever going to lead other people, no one is going to follow someone who can't help them through their hard times, because that's why they're following you, is to help get them to a better place. So if you don't have that, if you don't have the wherewithal to get people through that because you've never been through it yourself, then you've essentially eliminated yourself from being a real leader who can really lead people through hard times.
That's right. And so like, this is so important to understand also that as you guys grow, just know you're going to learn all these experiences and you're going to get better over time. So just stay in the game, because it took me years. I was in debt for years and then I figured it out, and now I do very well. So just stay in the pocket, stay in the game, because you heard my story. I was at the top of the online poker world. Then it all disappeared because government regulation. It led to a very tough time for me where I actually almost took my own life, because I convinced myself, it wasn't that I didn't want to live, it's that I didn't want to live that way. And I didn't understand how to live in the future. And so I was in a very tough time where I got myself into a mental trap where I said my past days were better than my future will ever be. And I didn't want to live in kind of that life. So take that moment of time where someone's suicidal. Now here I am 10 years later, or whatever it was, looking back, I would not be here where I'm at. If my poker career didn't go away, I would not have gone into real estate, which would not have led me to here. So that moment that at one point was the worst moment in my life was actually the single best moment in my life. And it's called the law of polarity, which means you can't have one without the other: up, down, left, right, inside, outside, positive, negative, which means no matter how bad the adversity you're going through, there has to be a win in it somehow. And so you hear this usually only in hindsight reflection, where people went through massive struggles or massive adversities or something like that in the past. Yet when years in the future they go and they look back at it, they say that was a huge blessing given to me. It was, I had not have gone through that, I would not have become me or been where I'm at. So just know that you guys are in the present. You pay the sacrifice at the moment. The benefit comes in the years going forward. So just stand strong and know that whatever's coming up against you, there's a massive win in it. But also when you understand that, you look for that win. And we see what we look for. And a lot of times we don't realize how we're looking for the negative. We're looking for, the bad side of it, because we're just conditioned that way. A lot of it's because of our media and social media and a lot of the stuff out there. That's another rabbit hole conversation, but just know there's good and every bad. And experience like I've had, where you went that close and you knocked on the devil's doorsteps and you came out and you had success after it, nothing scares you. Like, I don't have any fear for anything, just to be honest, because like I've been to the depths of darkness and I know how to help people walk through that, because I know that no matter how bad it is, I can start over. But it's just, there's wins in every adversity and adversity in every wins. And it's what you focus on, you're going to feel. So what we think about, we feel in our body. So let's say I asked Justin, let's just say I called Justin. I'm like, hey, I got bad news. Someone in your family just passed away. He's going to do what now? He took information in. He's going to react off that emotion or react off that information emotionally, whether it's real or not. He's going to break down. He's going to start crying. And then if I come back and say, bad April Fool's joke, they're fine, he's going to be like, wait, what? He's probably going to kick my ass, right? But the truth is, the belief that someone was not doing well or died or something like that, not whether it's real or not, just the belief caused the physical changing. What that means is our thoughts create our feelings. So whatever you tell yourself, whatever situation you're going in, you're going to believe it and you're going to feel it in your body. So if you believe the media and you believe your future's not good and everything's falling apart and the market's bad and interest rates and this and that, you're going to act off it. You're going to self-fulfill and you're going to move into a future that's self-fulfilling. But if you believe that this is the biggest opportunity right now in this real estate correction that we're in to make massive wealth, you're probably going to show up very wealthy at the end of this. So whatever your belief system is, you're going to move towards it. And what happens is, as the negative thoughts start coming in, we start to feel those thoughts. We don't like our self-esteem and we don't like how we feel and depressed and anxious, and we don't know how to get out of it. And a great leader helps people move out of those negative thought processes and helps them refine themselves in a more positive thought process that puts them into a different trajectory. And this is how you take people from losing streaks to winning streaks, and you shift the momentum. It can happen within an individual. It can happen within an organization. It can happen within a country and a world. And we just don't have the right leadership right now, unfortunately. And hopefully real leaders step up in our country and other countries going forward, because we need it right now pretty bad.
Yeah. And I'm absolutely enjoying this. I had slated this interview to be much shorter, but I just I absolutely love this topic. And I think one thing that stood out, and then we're going to wrap up here, is that we oftentimes hear about down markets, right? That it's a great opportunity because assets are on sale, et cetera. And I think what you've opened us up to is the fact that call it a down market, like call it whatever you want, right? I'm kind of using what the media is calling it right now. But when we look at shifts and adjustments in markets where fear is being commonly dealt, we have to ask ourselves the question of, is this not only good from stuff's on sale, but what are the opportunities to actually grow myself, right? All the things that we discussed up to this point are necessary for future growth. So what an amazing opportunity is this market right now where fear is being peddled right and left to be able to actually step up and earn some of those stripes that are going to help you become the person that not only can help you get to the next level, but so many other people get to the next level. I've got one last question for you, Connor, as we wrap up, which is you are a big thinker. That's why you're here on the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. What is it that you do to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities?
As many people as you can talk to as possible to get as many perspectives. So like in the beginning, when I was like really heavy in personal education, self-development, which I still am, I was just reading lots of different books and lots of different podcasts from different people, different belief systems, different walks of life and things like that. As you get, so you're doing this through YouTube videos and podcasts and watching masterminds and things like that. As you become busier and busier when you're actually doing the business and now you're just caught up in your business, the more that you expand the amount of the relationships that you have as far as different people from different industries, and different experiences, you're going to learn things from everybody, little bits here, but you start to get cross-pollination. You're going to hear something from someone over here that didn't make sense as on its own, but then you learn something a year later from someone over here, that those two pieces of information that connect together led you to a thought process that led you to an idea that changed your business. So get more opinions, get in front of more different people, get more different experiences, because a lot of times when we have a lack of creativity and we have flat lines and plateaus in our business, as you've heard the analogy, like in golf, the swing's the same. They're just doing the same old swing. And sometimes you have to rechange, Tiger Woods had changed his swing later in his career. And so sometimes we need to make changes. So like if we're just working with the same partners in the same environment, same things, and we're in habitual loops, and this is a normal habit, we need to get outside of that habit and that same environment and find new environments and new people to challenge us and new experiences and new different, we need to find people that won't just agree with us, but actually challenge us and disagree with us. And people that are not just nice to us, but actually tell us the truth and do it, maybe not in a mean way, but that's the actual tell us the truth, which sometimes the truth hurts, right? But I think if you guys are struggling to keep scaling and having creativity, you need new people and fresh belief systems around you.
That's great. I love it. Connor, been such a pleasure to have you here on the show today. Thank you so much for all you've contributed. For those of you that have found value in Connor, which I think everybody has, what's the best way for them to find you, follow you, continue to get value from you? And thank you for all you've contributed today, Connor.
Yeah, so I was going to leave social media for a long time, and then I decided I got sucked back into it. So actually, I started a new YouTube channel a few months back. It's just my personal name, Connor Steinbrook. That channel is going to be more on like entrepreneurship and overall, like a lot of stuff we're talking about. So just that's my personal brand channel. And if you guys not followed me before, I built that channel in a unique way where I started from video one, where if everything was rock bottom, I was at the worst moment of my life and I had to start over. What I did at my life in every sequential order step. So like the first 10 videos all flow together if you're at a tough point, and then they just go into normal business videos. And then if you're really focused on real estate investing, my investment channel is the Investor Army channel. But so I got two channels, Connor Steinbrook for overall entrepreneurship and mindset, personal self-education, and then my investing channel, and then Instagram. I'm putting more content. I'm actually going to be a lot more active on Instagram this year. And if you like bass fishing, I'm going to put some big old bass on there. Just don't hate me as I keep putting giants up there all the time. Just kidding. But that's where you can get find. I'm going to try to show more of my personal life a little bit on Instagram. I'm a pretty private person, but more of my agents are pushing me to get a little bit more out there and show myself. So I'm going to kind of get a little bit more out there this year. But and then if there's anything I can do for you, Justin, just let me know. Thanks, or your audience.
I appreciate it so much. It's been such a value. In fact, this big announcement I'm making tomorrow, I'll circle back. We'll have a conversation. I think there's some ways that we can collaborate and be of help to each other. So I appreciate it very much. For everybody listening here today, thank you so much. And my final request of everybody are these three simple words, and they are go think bigger. Connor, thanks for helping us do that today, my friend.
As big as you can. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate you guys. Hope all you guys have a good career. Swing for the fences.
Be honest, hearing good ideas is not enough. You have to apply them in order to get the results desired. If you found value in today's episode, then you're really going to love the community of big thinkers and high achievers that we are building in order to help you to apply the principles taught today. If you're not yet a member of Think Bigger Real Estate on Facebook, go sign up now.